I have finally been able to track down some audio that I was looking for months. I knew I wasn't going mad. The reason I couldn't find it is I had a completely wrong person. I don't know why, I just had it in my brain that it was a detective that said it, but it wasn't. It was a prosecuting attorney. A while back, I made a few videos on Cleo Smith. I think maybe only one video, and I was talking about it in a live stream also. Something I was thinking about then, and I'm still thinking about, and it's been annoying me, is how the Aussies use phone data. And why can't the FBI use it like they do? I wasn't sure what the difference was, but I knew there was a difference. I'm still not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure it's got to do with data dumps from phone towers and how they process that data. The Aussies are complete psychopaths when it comes to finding their missing kids. There's nothing they won't do. In Cleo's case, they were very open about, yeah, we're going to use secret spy technology. They were very open about perhaps maybe they're breaking some laws, but who cares? If they are, they'll change the laws. And this is coming from the PM down, so very strong messaging. A very unapologetic way of saying, like it or lump it, we're going to do everything we can to find these kids. And I love it. But if you Google now Cleo Smith phone data, you'll get some very interesting articles that will basically tell you how they did it and tell you what piece of evidence was the most important. All of these articles will have the mandatory speech. I'll link one of them down below. It was the hard work of everyone involved, and there was thousands of pieces of evidence. But they don't want to belittle any activity or any piece of work done. They're lunatics. An example of that is they collected the rubbish alongside the roadside bins for over 600 kilometres along Western Australia's northwest coast, whole coast. Collected all the rubbish, took it to a warehouse, and got the police recruits to go through it. And I basically think one of the main differences I can find is they don't need warrants for the data dumps from the towers. They can get data from any tower. Basically, the device's IMEI number. It's a number that they don't link back to any person, or a device that maybe they can't link back to any person. So they're just looking for the number, the device. It's not a GPS of a phone or anything like that. And they got kind of lucky because there's a new tower very close to the blowholes. And they had a nice little data set to start off with. But I think it's how they use this data set and how they process it is the difference between what they can do and what the FBI can do. They build out profiles and they start to track the movements of all these devices, see where they went, see what other towers they hit, maybe get data dumps from other towers in case it didn't hit off the initial first one, and start tracking those ones out. So it's a huge task, huge. And you are starting to track the movements of thousands of devices. But you haven't gotten a search warrant for any of those devices because you don't want to see into it. You just want to see the movements from the towers. And I think that phone data and how they used it was the key to unlocking everything else in this case. And it sounds very simple, doesn't it? No one's phone has gotten into. Yes, they track movements from pings, but who cares? Look at the results. And I speculated at the time that I thought there was something stopping the FBI from doing this. It can't be a knowledge gap. They must know what's going on. You have to believe they know what the Aussies were doing. And if they didn't, they'd tell them, no problem. I think there was a few of them over there. So why can't they do it? Is it a law? Here's the piece of audio I was talking about. It's Robert Ives on about the Delphi case. He was the prosecuting attorney at the time of the case, at the start of the case. He's retired since. He wasn't a detective or anything like that, but he was involved in the signing of all the search warrants. So he knows about this stuff. And this is him talking about the data from the nearest phone tower to where the girls were killed.
A frustrating thing, and this is probably difficult to explain in the course of a podcast, but the law on searches with relation to cell phones and cell phone locations was evolving right at the time this was going on. And I think some of the people discussing it didn't always understand. Like, they would say, well, if you want to know a cell phone location, why don't you get a search warrant? And the problem with that is, let us take this case as a perfect example. There's a tower near the crime scene, and cell phones pinged off that tower around the time of the crime. We would like to know who they pinged off. Said, well, why don't you get a search warrant? Because there is no probable cause to believe that any particular phone is going to tell us anything about the crime. There is no probable cause. People act like a search warrant is easy to get. No, because we don't think any particular phone is a criminal. But if we want to get a pool of 25 people who were in the area and therefore could possibly have committed the crime, you have to find out. And this is the difficulty of the modern electronic world. Of course, to look in your phone, I think clearly that's a search warrant situation. That's your private property. That's like opening your house or going in your car, getting a person. But the location of your phone, I certainly understand people's concerns about their privacy. Why can the government figure out where I am? But on the other hand, when your two little girls are dead and you want to find out who was nearby in the last 2 hours, it's terrible to not be able to get that information. And the idea is, well, just get a search warrant. That's not logically or legally practical. And so this is something society has to think about more, because cell phone location data can, for a case like this, which is a lot of what I was doing at that time, could potentially be really valuable. Because, Carroll County, 380 square miles, 20,000 people. Very few people were out near that crime scene at that time. It's not like
it was a Monday afternoon.
You weren't going to ping on 500 phones that period of time.
That's frustrating to hear, isn't it? Like 500 devices starting off, their hands are tied, and it sounds to me like there's a difference. It sounds to me like there's a big difference. I don't know why people aren't talking about this. Maybe the detectives, prosecutors, they probably can't. Can they? I don't know, can they talk about things related to the law unless they retire like this? But people don't want this. If I'm right, if there is a difference, people don't want it. Surely if it's explained properly to people and be like, here, look, this is what we're going to do. If a child is missing or a child gets murdered, we're not going to go into your phone, but we are going to track the movements of a couple of thousand of the devices to get a shortlist, to get a start. Will people care? I don't think they will. And it sounds like an easy sort of amendment to a bill or a law if something like that is passed. I think there must be something stopping the FBI from processing data like they do in Australia. There has to be. Or am I missing something? Was I wrong to just assume in the Summer Wells case that this has already been done and that any device on Ben Hill Road would be tracked and worked? But maybe not. If they can't do it in Delphi in Indiana, they probably can't do it in Tennessee. There's something in the law stopping them. Like even there in Delphi, to hear that a data set of 500 devices starting off and they're not able to work that data is infuriating. And must be, imagine if you were working on the case and you know there's a lead there that can help you and you can't pursue that. 500 devices sounds small, but that could spiral if you start getting the 10 nearest towers to that to try and build out a profile. But it's nothing that a dozen or two skilled data analysts couldn't do, or couldn't at least work through. Michael Monkey Vaughan is another case, although that's a bit different because the data set there would be mad due to it being so close to Ontario and the interstate highway. The amount of devices pinning there would be insane. You'd need a couple of dozen teams of data analysts to work through that, I'd say. But not impossible. And that's enough for me. Like in cases where we have so little leads, people lying left, right and centre, how amazing would it be to have something solid, something concrete that they can run with, some concrete data that doesn't lie. Or maybe I'm just missing something here altogether. But it sounds to me like there's a big difference. There's a big difference in how they can get the data and process the data. And I don't think it's fully explained to people. I don't think people know about it. Like, do people know that there's things out there that can help bring home your missing kids and find murderers? And it feels like an easy win. If there is something there, you can change this easily. A senator would have no problem putting their name to something like this. Call it child protection. They'd love it. Let me know what you think. Good luck. God bless. Have a good day.